Could you please tell us about OIM and consulting and the services you guys offer?
Yeah, thanks, Rolf. Basically, OIM started in 1985, and it started off as a culture change organization where Professor Bob Dusenius came along, and obviously during those times in the 80s, we had all the racial situation in South Africa, and Bob Dusenius said, we need to actually get into companies and change the nature of the conversation. And from there, he kicked off a whole range of culture initiatives where you basically change the culture of the organization to become a high-performance culture. So OIM's history is in people, and right now, in about 2010, we moved into efficiency. That's where I came along. And then we moved into leadership development. So OIM right now is a bundle of services. It's basically culture with efficiency, and then leadership development to sustain the carrying of the business. Our mantra literally is if you have efficiency without a culture change, it's unsustainable. You need to bring the two together. And if you don't have the right type of leadership, then in essence, it starts failing, because how you want to power forward is through leaders, it's through people. Yeah. And so we say you need to develop your leaders correctly. You need to give them the right tools. And it's basically, we talk about tool sets, skill sets, and mindsets. And those are the three you need to work on. Most companies will give you tool sets and skill sets, but we believe you need to add the mindset. So yeah, that's literally what OIM is about. We do a lot, but we are seriously effective.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. So you say you guys began, inaugurated the company, first came back in 1985. Now, what would you say, how has the company evolved since then, over the last 35 years?
Yeah, it's been quite interesting because, as I mentioned before, it was really focused on culture and the right leadership and the engagement aspects of the company. A lot of the clients were starting to say, you're very effective in the climate change, in creating a better climate, and in making sure that that we're engaged. I mean, one of OIM's programs was part of Eunice's master's degree, and so basically, what then happened is that you basically found happy people, but that didn't mean you had good processes. It didn't mean that you had good productivity in the sense of cost per unit issues or tons per person. And so then what happened is we evolved into bringing more the Lean Six Sigma aspects, the process re-engineering into the business, and also the whole capacitization of your operational leaders and your senior leaders. So your operational leaders obviously look at how do you execute on the day, while your strategic leaders are the ones with vision. So we brought things in like insights to see what personality there is, and we start looking at competency assessment. So we've evolved quite radically. So we're not just a one-horse pony now. We're like quite a few horses are running around.
Yeah. Okay. So considering with the time we find ourselves in now with a pandemic, obviously we've just gone to level 2. How would you say business has been affected by your business specifically, or your industry specifically, by the pandemic? I mean, we've had it. The pandemic's going to be around for a long time, yeah, but we've had lockdown, companies closing, people losing their jobs, salary cuts for the last 5 months. How has it affected you personally, your business, and sort of what long-term changes do you foresee going into the future?
Well, I mean, so we're implementation consultants, and our biggest industry is the mining industry. So as soon as the COVID hit and the lockdown started coming in, I mean, immediately we had to get off site. So, I mean, some of our clients like Goldfields, Rio Tinto and Amplats, they basically, we couldn't start on some of the projects. And at somewhere we basically started or we actually had to stop. So it was a major knock. I mean, you can't basically charge as effectively as you want to. And so we took a bit of a hit, quite a hit. And obviously our creditors who owed us money, they they basically didn't start paying us, so we had to start running around and asking for money and really scouring the debtors list. But I mean, it's fully understandable, but it really gives you a bit of a jolt. And we found it in the industry, because obviously we know a whole bunch of people in the industry. It's not just us. Obviously, everyone was in the same boat. But what it did do, it forced us to start saying, how can we do things differently? So the assessments that we used to do with industrial psychologists standing in a room looking at you, we were able now to do remotely. So we can now actually do remote assessments. We were starting to look at how things that we just accepted as normal and we didn't challenge ourselves on. We actually said, hang on, how can we do our training? Can we do it online? Can we do it differently? And so we started working on those things. Can we do smaller pieces of work instead of doing a massive piece of project? How do we become more efficient in how we deliver our program? And so that literally has basically been dominating our mind. How do you use technology more effective? How do you use the website? One of our clients even said that they would like us to start doing remote coaching. So basically have a body cam on the leader that we're following, and through that start looking at how we can coach them effectively. That, I must say, was a bit of a stretch from scratch. But the point here is that it forced us to start thinking differently, and it forced us to get innovative solutions. It wasn't like we sat back and said, oh my word, we can't do anything. We really were able to do some quite radical stuff. Specifically, the remote competency stuff was really very, very exciting. I mean, we used to have an industrial psychologist in a room. You can now do it over your cell phone.
Yeah.
So yes, that's how we've been looking at it. But, are we glad that we're moving out of COVID? Absolutely. But we've learned within COVID quite a lot.
Yeah. So that's the one thing you pick up from any business owner or director such as yourself that I speak to. Everyone has been forced to become innovative in this period. If you stood still, you're probably not coming out of it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But now, so this period has forced you and your company to be innovative and to find solutions. Once COVID-19 subsides, and it's slowly going to start subsiding, do you foresee this being the new normal? These innovative solutions, will they continue, or will you return to obviously what you were, or would it be a part fit sort of thing where whatever fits goes? But obviously we will be completely out of lockdown at some point. Do you see long-term these as long-term changes?
So in one way I do, but I think it's going to be more a blended approach. The longer we've been in the lockdown, the more people have been saying that they actually do want the personal connection. They actually do want. They don't want people remotely talking to other people. They don't want remote advice. They actually want people to stand in their situation and their shoes and say, okay, how does this work? So from an implementation point of view, I truly believe we as a company will go back to normal, just like other companies will slowly but surely also go back to normal in how they do their operations. But what has happened is that the thinking has changed to say this is not we're not working according to just one single standard. We now have options for clients. You literally can say to a client, we can deliver our competencies this way, or our training that way, or we can do the coaching that we've always done 100% face-to-face, or we can do 70% face-to-face and 30% remotely. So what's happened is there's more options for us to give to the client. So there is a change, but I've been reading that this is the end of offices, or this is the end of working together. It's not. I get a fundamental feeling from the people I'm talking to and from our clients is that as soon as we move out of lockdown, as soon as we move out of the COVID-19 phase, we're going to start slowly but surely moving back into how we used to previously work, but we're going to adjust it with the learnings we've had. I don't think it's going to be business as normal, but I think it would be very, very silly to start saying, oh my word, it's going to be a remote world and et al. that's not going to happen. And specifically, certain industries, it just won't happen. I was reading the London School of Economics had a study about remote work, and they say America, at best, will have 28% of remote working. So because of the different industries and nature of industries you have. And same in South Africa. I mean, mining is mining. It's going to be immensely difficult to just digitize every mine and make it like a guy sits somewhere in Joburg and he's drilling a hole in Chile. It's really not as easy as it sounds, but there are learnings there and we are moving forward. But, you know, some people are going to say we're going to go right back to what it was. That's not going to happen. And other people are going to say the world has changed. We're in a new century. That's also not going to happen. It's going to be steps, but it's going to be positive.